be kind to yourself. You are the priority always, right? So even if that means that you kind of have to change your teaching style, maybe for a little bit, maybe you will end up liking it and everyone will end up liking it and you will change it forever. Who knows, right? You never know where it can go. So it's okay. Just go with the flow. Try to adjust, but definitely don't kill yourself. And again, everything has its limits. Alright guys, welcome. This is our last episode of this year and of this first season of Yoga with Alina, the coffee break. I honestly cannot even believe this because I remember, I came into doing podcast not knowing anything about it, and I still know nothing about it. And it's already the end of the season. And I feel like we've done so much, both me and you and my guests and everyone who's been working on it, right? Because there is a whole team. So this last episode of the year and the last episode of the season, I've decided to do solo episode. And we've had a solo episode before and I felt like it went great and I heard great feedback from you guys. And I promised you back then that we will do those here and there. So, not a lot of opportunities left this year. So I figured why not do it today? And I asked you on my Instagram, those of you who are on my Instagram, I asked not a few questions, I just had to submit your questions, and which you did, and it was even more questions actually than before, which was very exciting, but given the history of the first solo episode, I know we'll not be able to go through all of them. So as always, I kind of highlighted what I want to really cover in this podcast episode, and I have my cheat sheet over here. Don't mind me looking at my phone half of the time. That's because I'm reading your questions, and that's because I really want to make this episode valuable to you and also kind of almost like a summary of everything that has happened over the last 6 months, because it's really funny. Today, I'm recording this, it's Friday. The episode is going to come out on Monday, and today's I was about to say December 15th. Today's December 16th, damn it. So June 15th was the first shooting day for Yoga with Alina, and which means it was exactly 6 months ago. I cannot believe this. I'm gonna send this part of the episode to my guys who have been shooting with me back then, and they were also my guests in the first episode. If you watched that, you know them, Tan Alan. And I cannot believe how fast all this time went. So it's kind of ironic, I guess, to be recording it today, which is almost 6 months later. And I want this episode to be the summary of what we have accomplished so far. And by we, I mean all of us, really, because none of what I do would be possible without A, my team, and B, you guys, because whenever I do not hear feedback from you, I kind of just want to kill myself and not do anything anymore. So thank you so much for your feedback, because that's something that has been driving me. That's something that just pushes me to go further and further and further. So yes, here's what we have done over the last 6 months. And again, I wrote it in my cheat sheet. I'm going to read it out loud to you. First of all, we have 25 YouTube videos. And by the end of the year, it's actually going to be 26 because there's more coming. And then we have 36 full-length classes on my platform, on my yoga platform. And soon enough, I'll be doing a little bit of kind of like a 30-day challenges where we can mix and match those classes to practice them. And I've done it over the month of December. Well, so far just did 16 days of it, and just to kind of feel it out, what feels best, what's going to be the structure. So that's something to look forward to. But the bottom line, it's 36 full-length classes in 6 months, which is pretty crazy. And then 12 podcast episodes, this being the 12th podcast episode. And also 5.5K more on Instagram. I did not look at other social media platforms. I actually feel like the fastest growing right now is Instagram. So I just looked at that. And I'm really, really proud of it because that's our kind of primary source of communication. And I love it. I'm very passionate about what I do there, which has not been happening in the last few years. So the fact that I'm excited about Instagram right now, and the fact that I'm excited about what I do there, and the fact that I get a response on that is just absolutely incredible. And I guess all that stats that I just said out loud, it's just, I don't know how interesting that was for you guys. Comment below if you want. But it's definitely something that keeps me motivated and keeps me going further and further and further. And yeah, I think that's something we can all be proud of. So thank you for being on this journey with me. And I guess it's going to be a good time to just start answering some questions, because I do have questions about kind of the end of the year and like what we have done. So one question that a lot of you have asked me in different variations is to how to keep going and not burn out. And most of those questions I get from actually yoga teacher accounts, and some of you I have actually answered directly on Instagram. So if you're listening to that and I have answered to you, you can add in the comments whatever we were discussing, because sometimes we come up with some really nice pointers. But the truth is, how to not burn out, I still have no idea. I do know, in theory, I guess, I know how to not burn out, meaning take it slow, meaning take it, be really loving to yourself and be very kind and rest and listen to yourself, which is something that I always say. I always try to communicate it. This is my message that I've been putting across all my platforms. But the truth is, I am burning out myself. With all that, everything that I've done in the last 6 months, I cannot tell you that I'm not tired. I'm very, very tired right now. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine the other day about it, and she told me, she's like, you've gotten so good at covering that. Because if somebody is not really close to you, they don't really see it. They don't really notice it. So the truth is, I am very good at covering my burnouts. I usually keep on going. And that is something that I'm figuring right now you should really not be doing in order not to burn out. And that's partly the reason also, for example, this podcast, this episode, I'm gonna put it out again. It's the last one of the year, last one of the season. And then for about a month and a half, I've decided to give myself a break. So it's not a goodbye. It's a see you later. Don't get scared. Don't freak out. I'm still going to keep doing this because, we're going to talk about podcasts a little bit later as well, because I want to get deeper into that. And I love doing it. That has become kind of like a passion. And so yeah, how to not burn out, guys. I'm the worst person to ask because I'm in the middle of a burnout. But the theory is take it slow. And if you end up figuring it out for yourself, let me know. Let's chat, because I definitely always need pointers. I also think that having a good community and a good support system really, really helps. Because again, those people who are super close to you, you can't really lie to them. You can't really, they'll read you. They'll notice, right? If people are close to you, they'll know this about you. And I feel like that can be a really good way to stop, because even though right now I'm saying that I'm, in the middle of a burnout, I have had, this is the the tiniest, mildest burnout I've ever had in my life. And I've had a bunch of them. And if you know my story, you know that my very first came when I still was in PR world and I had a PR agency. I was the owner of a PR agency. And my burnout actually led me to yoga. It was so severe and so deep rooted that I abandoned a whole career, a whole business. Well, I didn't abandon it, I sold it. But with that said, I switched the whole career just to recharge. And I still, to this day, I've been teaching for the last 7 years almost. And no, I still have not gone back into PR, which is crazy and something that I used to love so passionately. But so yeah, whatever is happening right now is not as deep for sure. So I am learning. I'm definitely on the road to success. And a big part of that is my community, is the people around me. And, those friends who look at me and say, hey, you need to slow down. You need to stop right now. We are not even going to push you anymore, because I've said it so many times. My team pushes me so much, and I'm so grateful. They always say like, hey, let's do it. And they don't let me quit. But there are also moments where like, okay, Alina, chill. That's it. You're done. We're not working with you anymore. You are just going to have to slow down. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Actually, after I record this, because that's pretty much it. No more shooting until the end of 2022, and the next whatever projects I might have are only going to be in the next year, which I'm super excited about. And I also already have a bunch of ideas. We'll get into that later. All right, so yeah, that's about a burnout. And then another thing that kind of goes hand in hand, especially because I started talking about taking a break and stuff like that. I had a question about, wait, I'm looking through it. Oh, yes. Have you had any injuries that interfere with your practice and teaching? How did it go? So the reason why I wanted to kind of put those two one after another right now is because I do have injuries, and my latest ones are interfering with my teaching right now. And that's another reason why I'm taking a little bit of a break and slowing it down, because my entire left side body is completely messed up, guys. Oh my God. The reason for that is actually me pushing too hard, and at some point really doing way too much physical activity for my body. And I am pretty in tune with my body. So at the moment when I'm actively breaking my body, I understand it, but it's an art to stop, which I do not have yet in me. So now I have to stop a little bit. And this one is not actually, this one is probably the first time that it affects me so much to the point where I have to slow down even on teaching. With that said, I've had other injuries from, well, those that are a little bit funnier, let's put it that way, from teaching. I feel like all the teachers had them. My very first one, I'll tell you the story. I just started teaching back then. I was teaching in this place. It's called Yoga Factory. If you're in Fort Lauderdale, check them out. They're really, really cool. And I was walking. It was a heated class. It was 100% humidity. It was, I don't know, almost 100 degrees in the room. That was not my first class that I was teaching. So I was pretty much walking around the classroom the whole entire time. My body was warm, but I was not really warmed up with any exercise. And I was leading the class up to putting people in a position with their leg behind their head, one at a time, not both. And I prepped them. I prepped them really, really well. I was really going for it. I knew exactly what I was doing. It was kind of like, if you're a teacher, you know this kind of sequencing. It's called peak pose sequencing. When you kind of go from the back, you decide on the pose that you want to teach your main pose, and then you kind of go back and you figure out what the pose consists of, and you prepare the body for it, it's kind of how I usually teach anyways. So it was one of those sequences, and everyone in the room, they were perfectly prepared for the pose. A lot of people got into it. A lot of people are like, oh my God, I never thought I could do it. So that went great for the students, except for that particular pose. Obviously, I had to show how to get into it. And without any preparation, I just throw my right leg, because we usually start with the right. I just throw my right leg behind my head and something clicks in my hip flexor. Oh my God. Well, it's nothing major really, but I'll tell you this, until this day, I still feel the difference between right and left from that particular time. And it was like the first month of me teaching, I guess. And I keep telling people the story, especially when we're talking about injuries with a bunch of teachers. And I feel like every yoga teacher has that kind of story. How do we deal with that? In the perfect world, you need to give yourself a break. But in the teacher world, you need to be kind to yourself, because we can't really take a full-on break, right? This is our livelihood. This is how we make money, especially if you're at the stage where the only source of income for you is teaching classes, in-person classes, or even Zoom classes, right? And Zoom especially, oh my God, you kind of have to do everything, right? You can't just coach that one. So just maybe not doing it at 100%, maybe being upfront with your classroom and telling them that, hey, I'm not gonna participate in this and this and this because I have this and that and that. That would be a good way to start. And I guess for my best advice for a yoga teacher in any tricky situation would be to just be very honest with your people, be very honest with your students. Even when, it's just as simple as something that you are tired, right? You come into a class and your energy is different. Everyone is, most of the people are going to know, especially those who come to you all the time. And sometimes it's really important to say that, hey, guys, I'm, not feeling 100% today. Let's just kind of help each other out. Let's exchange that energy. And people are very understanding. Usually those people who come to you, they're very forgiving, understanding, and they came to you. So be honest. Don't be afraid to do that. I've mentioned it many, many times before. I work out a lot. And I've recently went to this Pilates class. I go to Solid Core, which I love. And if you're in the States and you've never tried it, I definitely recommend it. Just a little ad there for Solid Core. You guys are very welcome. And one of the instructors that I love so, so much, I've known him for, I want to say like 2 years maybe. I don't know, for a while. And I've been taking his classes. And of course I notice, sometimes he's, I see when he's tired, I see when he's exhausted, I see when he's in a good mood. And recently we had this conversation that he's teaching 4 classes in a row. And he's like, people who usually come to my first class and then accidentally come to my 4th class, they just don't even recognize me anymore because, the voice is different, the energy is different. And I've been to both kind of scenarios when he had been rested and when he was tired. And that was and again, I always feel it. But when I heard him saying it, I was like, oh, okay, well, I actually really appreciate it. As a student, I really appreciate knowing what's coming. And that way we can kind of really help each other out, because I don't want him to suffer as a student. I hate him suffering. So I'm going to do everything. I'm going to listen extra. I'm going to be like there. I'm going to take advancements because I know how much it motivates and kind of charges the teacher when, there's someone who's super, super present. So I'm going to try to do anything in my power to kind of bump him up. And to be honest, that's how you deal with that. And if it's an injury, unfortunately, I don't know what kind of injury you're talking about, but if it's something that really prevents you from moving, then coach with your words. You don't need to show everything, and be kind to yourself. You are the priority always, right? So even if that means that you kind of have to change your teaching style, maybe for a little bit. Maybe you will end up liking it and everyone will end up liking it and you will change it forever. Who knows, right? You never know where it can go. So it's okay. Just go with the flow. Try to adjust, but definitely don't kill yourself. And I'm right now learning it the hard way. I don't even know why I was going so hard. It was just I was kind of obsessed with weightlifting in the last couple of months. But again, everything has its limits. So now my shoulder, I definitely feel it. My sciatica started acting out. So that's when I actually really, really have to slow down. And again, first time in my career when it's been this severe. So it's an adjustment. It's an adjustment, and now that I'm giving that advice, I know that I have to be a little bit better at following my own advice in that sense. So yeah, thank you so much for that question. I feel like that helped me a lot. So yeah, thank you. Before we dive deeper into the episode, just a little reminder for you guys to check out yogawithalina.com for my full library of yoga classes, tutorials, courses, and so much more. And for your convenience, I optimized all the classes for all devices so that you can flow through the flows from your phone, computer, TV, whenever, wherever you want. Start your free trial today and test it all out. I hope to see you on the mat very, very soon. Let's dive deeper into the episode. All right, and I'm gonna go further. We are, throughout the whole season, I feel like the most popular topics were about business. Because when I first started podcast, I didn't really know what, who's gonna be my audience. That was kind of the reason for me to start the podcast, to connect with my audience. Because when you're teaching yoga, I mean, you guys can see my personality, I guess, through the classes, but you can't really, really know me as a person. So the idea of this podcast from the very, very beginning was actually to become a person with people who have been following and who have been flowing with me, right? Who have been taking my classes online, not just in person. Because in person, we connect, we know each other. Even though I feel like on this podcast, I shared so much that half of my in-person students, they've learned so much about me. People who listen to this, people who watch this, you guys know me really well because I am very honest, very open in this studio, in this setting. But that was the idea. I wanted to become a person with people who are communicating with me, and I wanted to know them better. So what I've learned is that a lot of you guys most of you are yoga teachers. Or about to become yoga teachers. So somehow that whole business side of yoga has been a really, really cool topic, and the whole, the life of yoga teacher. I feel like that was the most watched episode so far with Jennifer, which was, I think, the second episode. And the life of a yoga teacher, the journey of a yoga teacher, the last one that we did with Bri, I thought it was incredible. If you haven't watched that or listened to it yet, definitely check it out. So a lot of, oh my God, I'm almost losing. I know that I didn't lose this thought, but I feel like I'm almost about to lose the thought of where I was going with it. But anyways, no, I did not lose it. So the majority of questions, even now, were about business and about setting up, setting up online classes and stuff like that. So I really kind of want to take time to dive deeper into that. I guess same as the first solo episode that I did, it was mostly about business. So, okay. Hi, Alina. I don't have space at home to record for my online studio in the making. Is it weird to ask yoga studios if I can use a space to record? What solutions do I have? I really love this question. Thank you so much. First of all, no, I don't think that it is ever weird to ask any questions. And thank you for asking me this question. And studios, why would it be weird? It would not be weird. With that said, be prepared that they're going to ask for money, because that's how studios make money. The studio owners, they pay the rent, right? And they need to somehow pay the rent. So right now you're asking them this, you're giving them perfect opportunity to make some extra cash, unless it's your friends, right? And don't be surprised that they're going to ask you for a payment to rent a studio. And I am renting a studio where I am shooting all the content and where I'm shooting all the classes. It's not a yoga studio, actually. It is just a studio for filming, for different photo shoots, for different video shoots. And yes, I pay for that, right? It's not in my home. So if you do not have budget, if you cannot do it at your home, try doing it outside. And I think I've mentioned it before, outside can be tricky sometimes. And with a few things. First of all, there are places where they would give you a hard time, and the city might give you a hard time actually recording. So you have to be aware of that. If you've ever done any photo shoots, you know, the photographers and videographers, if you have them, they're going to tell you that sometimes it is tricky. For example, in Miami, beautiful spot to beautiful occasion to have photo shoots, and I'm guessing would be incredible for video shoots, Perez Art Museum, where technically you cannot take any pictures and you cannot take any videos. So, and I know a person who does like classes there. I'm not gonna name anyone, but I know a person who records classes like on the lawn, which technically you cannot, but she finds a way to sneak it in, and it's not really like long classes, so it works for her. Why not? But you have to be aware of that, right? So you don't want to get yourself into trouble with that. Another thing for me personally, why I always felt like outside is tricky, and if you've practiced me, you also know that I don't like to teach outside, even privates. It's kind of like, yeah, I don't like it. You do not control anything. You do not control the weather. You do not control the people. You do not control the sounds. And yes, a good microphone is a solution. The wind chill on the microphone is going to be a great solution for you. Also, depending on, you know, where you live, if it's cold right now, that's going to be tricky to record yoga outside. It could be beautiful though. I don't know. So you do have options. But when it comes to free of charge options, that's when it becomes limited. And with that said, if you don't have the budget, do not kill yourself and try to squeeze in payments that you don't want to put. That as a yoga teacher, we do not really have steady income. And that's the truth, right? None of us do. I mean, I don't know. I don't really. And even when the numbers are getting bigger on your check, on your salary, in your bank account, it's still not steady. So it depends, right? I'm not saying that it cannot be good. It's just not steady. So if you feel like you cannot afford a studio, then really go for the free options. Just be aware of, different problems you might run into. Maybe plan a little bit better. It's going to take a little bit more thought. It's going to take a little bit more effort. But hey, it's worth it. I am speaking from my personal experience. So I definitely recommend trying it out. And if you do have a budget, the easiest way to go is going to be just to rent a studio space. And really, some yoga studios are good for shooting, but I'll be honest with you, not all. When you are kind of like little tips, I know you didn't ask, but little tips. If you're choosing studios to shoot at, then really check with the lighting. You want it to be hopefully natural light, hopefully the windows that are not facing east or west, because that way you will have very uneven light all the time. And then, if it's not natural light, it should be good light that, sustainable for video. And then also the sound, so the echoes, and all that, because a lot of yoga studios, they have echo in them, and that becomes a nightmare when you're editing and when the mics are picking everything up. So that part is tricky. Definitely give it some thought. And I, again, personally, I went with just a studio that is good for recording stuff, for photo shoots and all those things. So that became my solution at this point in my life. Another thing, just kind of like the last point here, if you do have a budget but it's limited, and there's, for example, a space that you really like, don't be afraid to, your question was about asking, so actually don't be afraid to ask. And if it's something that's going to be reoccurring for you, maybe people will work with you. You never know. But yes, asking is not stupid, and it's not weird. Just go for it and definitely ask, because you'll never know if you don't ask. All right. And the next one, I kind of started, no, I didn't start answering the next question. The next question that I really, really liked was, hold on. No, yeah, I cannot find it here right now. But it was about whether it's worth it or not to do like an online platform versus just doing a YouTube thing. All right. I am this is like full disclosure here. Again, super, super honest with you. Was it worth it for me over the last 6 months? Oh, dear God. Well, first of all, I'll tell you, it was tricky. Online platform was something that I was really, really dreaming about. And since my first YouTube channel was deleted, it is what it is. That just how life happens, right? And I saw that as an opportunity for myself to create an online yoga platform, which again, I have been dreaming about for a while. So that was like a thing that I really wanted. And all the aesthetics on my channel, on my platform, on my Instagram right now as well, that has been something I wanted for many years. And I couldn't do it for multiple reasons. But when the YouTube channel got deleted, the first one, that's when I was like, okay, no more excuses. I'm going to find a way. No matter what, I'm going to do everything. I'm going to do everything exactly as I wanted, which was, for example, things like 2 cameras and all that stuff. So the setting up of the platform is not a cheap process. It's a pretty expensive process. I have broken even. I have not made money off of that, I'll be honest with you. And at some point, it really got me kind of like in a depressing state. So with that said, for example, my YouTube channel, right, it is not being monetized at this point of my life. When my first channel was monetized, I was monetizing my first YouTube channel. That was definitely really good income. let me put it that way. But again, that's something that could easily gotten deleted, and which it did, right? So I lost it. With a platform, I know that nothing is going to happen to it unless I decide to do something with it, which I am not going to decide to do something with it because I love it so much and I'm super proud of it. So that stays with me. With that being said, do I see potential of it bringing me income? Yes, I do. But the strategies will have to be a little bit different. So I will be recording more courses and kind of more special programs from here on now, as opposed to just classes. So with that said, why am I saying I'm spilling all the tea? Wow. Okay. But actually, that's something that you'll know anyways. So with that said, if you're just recording classes, if you just want to put the classes out there somewhere, Probably YouTube would be an easier version for you. It's not easy. It takes time to monetize it, right? But at least you won't really go into depth, let's put it that way. Because yeah, then even to break even, you will need to work your ass off. Speaking from a perspective, from my experience. So going back to the actual question, was it worth it or was it not? For me, it was worth it for sure. And again, because it was kind of a dream. Is it easy? No. Is it something that I would do again? Probably not. But you learn, you grow, and same as, for example, with my first YouTube channel, I was posting videos 4 times a week. Am I ever gonna do it again? No, never. But hey, learned it the hard way. So yeah, if you just want to start putting your yoga classes out there, I think that a weekly class on a YouTube is a way to go. Don't expect anything crazy. Take your time, be very patient, and think about it as a long run, whatever it is for you. It's for sure a long run, right? So you just need to be patient with yourself, and you need to be consistent with what you're putting out there. That's the only recipe for success. Now, if you have a large following, if you are thinking about some kind of special programs, if you're thinking about courses, if you can put it in a context, right, then I think that a platform can be a really, really cool thing to set up. But with that said, I have not experienced it yet. It's only something that we have planned for 2023. So ask me it a year from today and I'll tell you for sure. But right now, from my understanding, that's something that is definitely it would definitely be more profitable and definitely something that would bring more feedback there. Let's put it that way. So yeah, hopefully that answers the question. And I'm sorry I couldn't find like the actual, but I remember reading it. I'm like, oh my God, yes, I want to answer this. And actually piggybacking off of this one, about the podcast. A few of you asked me like, how was my podcast journey? How did I decide to do? There were a bunch of questions about podcasts, and I'm going to throw all of it in the same thing and kind of tell you, well, I already started telling you before that podcast was my way to become closer to my audience, which that definitely was worth it. And I came into doing podcasts knowing nothing about them. I still know nothing about them. I'm still kind of like in the dark room and just feeling it out, just trying different topics, talking to different people. But the truth is, I really, really, really enjoyed creating every single episode that I did. And it has become like kind of a fun pastime. And apparently I love talking. Like, hey, I don't know how long this has been going on right now, but at least 30 minutes and I'm just not shutting up. So even when I'm on my own, I actually love sharing. I love talking. I love answering. Hopefully that brings value to you as well. And if it does, that's just, that just fills my heart for sure. And I love the whole concept that I've created. I'm so happy that I did because I got to talk to incredible people. I got to really connect. I got to learn. I made some new friends. And yeah, I feel like that's definitely worth it. So always know your why. You know, when I get questions about, like, is it worth it? Why are you trying to do something, right? Is it going to be worth it for you? Am I making money off the podcast? No. Do I think I'll be making money off the podcast anytime soon? No, I actually don't think so. But do I enjoy it? Very much so. Did it bring to me what I was looking for? Yes, definitely. Do I feel closer to you? Yes, I do. Hopefully you feel closer to me as well, after all these hours that we spent together. And hopefully some of the information from other episodes as well was from other people, from my guests. That was something that either inspired you or just got you thinking, right? Because we've had so many topics here. And I know, for example, I learned so much from the episode with Jeremy. And if you haven't watched that one, that's the only 2-hour episode. You will not miss it. So just scroll down a little bit. I don't remember what the number of the episode is, but it's the only one that was 2 hours. And we talked about, we talked about everything. I felt like that was a very interesting conversation. He has a very certain perspective on things, which in a lot of ways I share. Not always, right? So we did have kind of like confrontational moments. I enjoyed so much. This is, this is for me the best pastime, right? It's, why not? That's what I do. That's getting together as friends. I got asked this yesterday. What do I do for fun? And it took me a moment because I didn't really know what to answer. What do I do for fun? But I guess for fun, I hang out with my friends, right? I get together with people and we go to coffee places, we go to restaurants, we go to bars. And it's not really, do we go there for food or for drinks or for, no, we go there, well, at least I go there for the company, unless it's a spectacular something. I don't know, a coffee that I've never tried in my life before, but that hasn't happened in a while. So, yeah, I go there for the company. So this is my way of spending time with people and talking, learning, sharing. So for me, it is worth it. And always have your why. Why are you doing something that you're doing? So that's as easy as that. All right. Back to business, because, well, yeah, we're all about business. I love you guys. How do you get booked to host events? Ooh, I love this. Yeah, I love this. Well, I highlighted the questions that I love. That's why I'm reading them out loud, and I say I love this because I highlighted the ones that I loved anyways. So how do you get booked to host events? I don't really host events. If you're hosting events, that's probably going to be your event and you will, you'll be teaching there automatically. So you can create an event for yourself, right? So if you really want to teach events and it's just not happening for you yet, it can be, a good opportunity for you to just create something of your own. Why not? It can be really fun. And I know some stories that are very successful of people doing that. So if you've never considered that, try. And the events that I do teach. So what's happening is that I'm a part of, I teach at Equinox. And most of the events right now that I teach are Equinox events. How do I get booked for them? The managers like my classes. I guess that's super, super simple. And I'm always available. They know that for an event, I made it very, very clear at some point in my life that I wanted to teach events. And all the managers, and there are 5 Equinoxes in Miami, if you know about that. So all the Equinox managers, they know that I like teaching events, that given the opportunity, I'll make myself available to teach an event. They know what I teach. They know how I teach. They know that I can be trusted with an event. I have enough experience, and that's how I get booked for that. So with that said, it's, not always 100%. There are events that I don't teach, but first of all, make sure that people know that you want to teach an event, right? And then when you're asking, how do you get booked for events? I'm wondering if you have a specific event in mind, because if you do, reach out. And again, you need to, nobody knows that you want to teach an event. Nobody knows that, if you're looking to get more, private students, I'm fantasizing here. But you're not telling people that you're looking for private students. How are they going to know that you have time and you have interest and you have availability for that? They will not know. So the first thing to do is to vocalize what is it that you actually want and what is it that you actually need. And if you're just thinking about, all the events in the world, we're not talking about any specific, then I would say narrow it down maybe a little bit. Do a research, find the events. It doesn't have to be one, but the amount that we can count and we can actually approach, and then approach the people who are behind the events. And if you cannot find the people behind the events, go to the events, become a part of that community, and that might be your ticket in. So that's my main advice. And then also, oh my God, I'm just remembering this now. Wow. This is embarrassing, but I'm going to share this anyways. So I was at the point in my life when I really, really wanted to teach in events, but I've never taught an event. And the dumbest part is that I've never even been to yoga events at that point. Yes. Yes, I was a dumbass at some point. I guess I still am. Looking back at this moment, I'll probably think that lots of things that I'm doing are just plain stupid, but whatever. So, anyways, I get this idea that I want to teach events. Okay. What I do, I follow my own advice. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start reaching out to people who are hosting events, and I'm going to tell them that I want to teach events. And by the way, long story short, this is how I started getting my first events. So it's actually not that bad of an idea. But me not really knowing the market and not really doing the best research, because I remember that idea just popped into my head, and then boom, the next day I'm just reaching out to people on Instagram. One of the first people that I reached out on Instagram was this girl. And as I know now, and now I know her personally, she was the one who created the event. And it's a yoga event. It's a monthly yoga event. I don't think it was happening before COVID. I don't know if she resumed it after COVID. I don't remember. But anyways, so it was pretty big. It was getting pretty big in Miami. And she's a yoga teacher. And she created this event to teach this event, to connect with her community. That was the whole point. So the next thing, I'm reaching out to her directly and say, hey, my name is so-and-so. I want to teach your event. And I remember she was so thrown back by that. And we talked about it afterwards too. She's like, whoa, maybe you can just come check it out, figure out that I'm teaching it actually. Don't try to steal my spot. What is wrong with you, person? And then it turned out that she always, I ended up going to that event, figured out that I was a dumbass. And then I learned that she is always looking for assistants and, for people who assist during the class. So for a couple of events, I was an assistant, and that kind of also, it was a great way in just to kind of see how events are being taught, and also communicating with the community, getting to know people. They started getting to know me. That ended up being a good experience. But right now, remembering this, I do feel a little bit embarrassed about that. But it's okay. So do your research. When you're reaching out to people, do your research. And again, maybe you, just like this girl, you can do your own events. And even if it's just for a few people at first, why not? That's actually, again, I don't really host any events right now, but I am thinking about starting the new year doing one class a week in person here in Miami, just mine, not affiliated with any studios, with any other teachers. So just, me renting out a space and, doing this one class a week. I don't know if that's going to happen, but who knows? At first, maybe it's going to be for, 2 people, and it's okay. And then maybe it's going to be 5, and maybe it's going to be more. I have a friend, she also lives here in Miami. Her name is Elizabeth, and she, many years ago, she started this event. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was called Vina to Vinyasa. And she did it as a first just for her girlfriends to hang out and, do some yoga and then drink some wine, which I think was a great concept. And then eventually it grew to an event with over 100 people coming every single month. And I remember that got to the point where she was overwhelmed. That's partly why it stopped. So yeah, that, you never know how it can grow. So if you feel like teaching events, if you feel like that's your calling, then maybe that's also a good way to go. That's a good route. I would give it a try. Why not? All right. Let's go further. Do you still have your own practice or do you only teach others? I've answered this question so many times. I do have my own practice always. With that said, my practice is very different from what I teach. And not exactly that. No, different. So here's what I mean by that. I mostly teach vinyasa and yin yoga. What I practice myself is meditation, breath work, followed by some kind of movement, which is definitely not long enough to be a full-on like class movement, right? So it's not what I teach in class. And it really depends on the day. Sometimes it can be a yin style where it's very passive stretching. Sometimes maybe I want to get into some arm balances and transitions and just play with that, and that's what I do. So it just depends on the day. I don't really stress out about it too much. So it's not really something that I, oh my God, it's been already 50 minutes. How? I put the timer. All right. Well, I'm going to do this question and then I'm going to wrap it up. So of course I'm rambling so much. And see, I don't even notice. I love it. That's my outlet. Thank you so much for staying that long with me. So yes, I don't really put my I don't put the boundaries for myself to practice, like a full-on yoga practice every day. With that said, some form of yoga is present in my life every single day. I also do take classes with certain teachers, which is it's not even a weekly occurrence for me at this point, but it is definitely something that I do once or twice a month, and that is something that inspires me. Very few teachers that I trust. I am very picky on that. There are some, and most of them do not live in Miami. So we actually do schedule like Zoom classes, which if you know me, I don't like to teach Zoom classes, but if I have to take a Zoom class, I'll take a Zoom class with the right person. I'm willing to do that. And that's that is my practice. So I'm guessing this question is coming from a yoga teacher who might not have a lot of time for yoga practice. And if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have a lot of time for yoga practice, make time, because that's the only way you will stay inspired. It's not even about you, doing what you teach or what you preach or whatever it is. It's mostly about you staying interested in what you're doing. And not really being stagnant, right? Because we get into our patterns. I do more than anyone, especially right now. That's one of the things that I definitely want to do next year is take another teacher training, because I want to be, I want to be in that creative space for a little bit of time, maybe a month or so, because I want to do a teacher training that would be on location. And just to kind of, reinvent my practice, reinvent my teaching. But with that said, even those like little, so obviously like these big experiences are great. That's why I'm using the big word as in reinvent. But the smaller experiences, as in taking a class with another teacher, it's gonna still keep you, if you stay present, if you stay open to it, it's still gonna really push you a little bit further every time you take it. And it doesn't matter, even if even if you don't like the teacher, even if you end up not liking the class, be open, be present, try it, because you might learn something, you might find something that you never thought of or you never understood before. And I've had that experience. I think I shared in one of the episodes already, but they're in part of the sun salutation. There's this, well, if you know yoga, you know sun salutations, and there's this part of the sun salutation that I personally never teach. And that's basically from standing, when you step back into lunge, then you go through vinyasa, and then the same leg that you step back from your downward facing dog, you step forward. So the reason why I don't teach it is because from the very beginning, it never made sense to me. I'm like, okay, hold on. So we did basically what we did lunge on the left side, and then boom, we do lunge on the right side. What, like, that just makes no sense, especially because then we're doing lunge on the right side and then lunge on the left. Anyway, so for me, that was never really like balanced. And then I took a class that I did not really enjoy that much, by the way. But that's when a teacher found really good words for me to finally understand what's happening there. And what's happening is that I was looking at the whole movement as lunge and lunge. No. What that person showed me, or showed the whole class, and I kind of heard it, I picked on that, is that it's the movement of the hip flexor, and that's how you warm it up. So you extend and then you flex. And then I'm like, okay, well, that actually makes a lot of sense. With that said, I still don't teach it because I don't like how it feels in my body. But now I know why. Now I know why people do it. And it makes a lot of sense. I actually think that it's smart. So, you never know. You never know what's going to happen in the class. Definitely make time for your practice. So again, yes, I do have practice daily. Is different from what I usually teach in my classes, but it is present. It is very much present in my life. And then monthly, maybe a couple of times a month, that's kind of like a bigger experience of a full-on class. That would, push me a little bit outside my comfort zone, but definitely try to schedule those for sure. All right, well, let's wrap it up. I cannot believe it. Yes, I really hope you enjoyed this one. I really hope you enjoyed this season. I will have time between this episode and the next one, and I kind of want to do the next season of this podcast kind of more of a theme. So if you have ideas, I would love to hear those. You know where to do it, just to comment, or you can send me a DM. You can use Instagram, whatever you want. But I would love to hear your ideas and see what you would be interested in. And yeah, I guess that's it. I guess we're wrapping this up. Thank you so much, guys, for staying with me for all this 6 months, for following my journey, for being a part of this journey, a huge part of this journey. Thank you for your questions. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for your presence. I love you so much. Have amazing, amazing holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. And I'll see you in 2023. Thank you, guys.